I'm Quoran. I'm 22 years old.
So he's got, I think, 8 questions for you. Is it 8 or 7?
8.
I can't remember. So we got 8 questions for you, and we just want to get your insight on love, relationships, dating. We can start whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, question number 1. If you're single, why are you single?
That's a good question. This is person 1. I would say I'm single because I just feel like where I am now, I'm developing and growing to be able to be a stronger me so that when I do get in a relationship, I am whole and healthy and compatible for my significant other.
That's good. I mean, I'm person 2. I would definitely agree with that. I think I desire to be whole as a person before I meet my person. So that's just what I'm looking for. And I think it's just a choice. It's not that, I can't find anybody or nobody's able to, take that next step. It's just that I want to make sure that I'm ready and mature enough to be in a relationship with somebody.
Hey, it's number 3. I definitely agree with what number 1 and 2 said, but for me personally, I choose to be single right now because I'm just trying to focus on myself and figuring out my life before I bring someone else's life into the equation.
Okay. I have nothing to say on that. Those was good answers. Question number 2. What's a deal breaker for you in a relationship? Something that you can't, with no ifs, ands, or buts, you can't do it at all. Like, you have to end that right there.
This is person 1. 2 off the top of my head are a person that sells drugs and a person that doesn't take care of their kids. I don't mind people that have kids, but if you don't take care of your kids, that's a no-go for me.
This is person number 2. I think I would say off the top of my head, just a dishonest person. It's just something that I can't tolerate. I don't like dishonest people. It's just not something that interests me because I feel like, if you're in a relationship, we're supposed to be honest with each other. It's supposed to be an open line of communication. So if that's what we're building our foundation on, it's clearly not going to last. So I would say that is like a number 1 deal breaker for me.
This is number 3. The first thing that came to my head was being neutral on situations of social injustice, just because of everything going on right now. Like, if you're neutral and just like what's clearly right and wrong, then I can't.
All right, for number 2. What if the person has had past issues that he feels like he has to lie about? Is it just one and done? Like, if he just lies that first time, you done?
No, I wouldn't say it's like one and done. Like, if you say something, I'll be like, nah, like, that's it. I wouldn't say that. I just think it's, that also goes back to trust. How much we trust each other. And everybody has a past. Everybody has done things in their past. And I get that because I've done things in my past. But, that's a level of trust that we have to have with each other, that I trust you enough that I can come to you and tell you something, and you trust me enough that you can come to me and tell me something or anything of another because, that's the type of relationship that we have. So that's what I would say about that.
Okay, for number 3. With the social injustice, what if the person don't know anything about, like, what if he just blind to it? Like, would you be there to teach him? Like, what he knows, how he grew up, he don't see what everybody else sees. Like Black Lives Matter and people saying Blue Lives Matter and stuff like that. Would you be there to help him out to learn that?
Yeah, I would definitely try to educate and get him to open his mind and eyes to a lot of things. And if we get to that point where he is educated and still kind of closed-minded or doesn't want to see everything for what it is, then we'd have a problem.
Yeah, that's something different.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So does he have to agree with everything that you stand on?
No, but he at least has to understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Question number 3. If you was to paint a perfect relationship, where would you see it in 5 years, and what actions would you take to paint that perfect relationship?
I think this is number 2. Okay. I think a perfect relationship should be a friendship that developed into a relationship, and it's something that's founded upon you all really knowing each other and growing together. I think growing together is important because we all go through different stages and phases of life, and you know, I may be one way this year, but 5 years from now I've hit a completely different phase of my life. So I think finding somebody that is willing to grow with you through those stages and willing to develop that growth would turn into a relationship that I would see as long-term. Ultimately, marriage is, I'll say, is one of my goals. So I would see that in 5 years turning into a lifetime commitment. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Was you the one that was talking about the trust?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say like it takes 5 years for you to for that person to actually gain 100% of your trust. Would you stick around for that 5 years?
If I see that it has the potential to grow and be something, I'm just not one to give up and quit on a person. I want to be able to extend that level of communication that they may need or trust that they may need in order to open themselves up to me. But if I see it being consistently the same way, I'm not going to sit and invest more time and invest more energy so that we can just be at the same place 5 years from now, because that's not it. It's just not it. It's not something that I want to go through. But if I see this person is trying and we're having those conversations, then I have no problem waiting. But it has to be some sort of progression.
This is person 1. I second what she said. I think I don't think there is any perfect relationship, but I think love is a life, like she said, person 2 said, love is a lifelong commitment. So I think just 2 whole people that are coming together that are committed to working through the phases, like you said, in the stages of life. And I think 5 years down the line, it would just be a progression and an extension of that strong foundation to build in whatever vision that those 2 partners have together, and seeing that progress over time.
5 years, perfect relationship would be we're still like friends. We're not so caught up in like the trials and tribulations of the relationship. Like we still have a friendship and we still like each other, and we're still learning and growing and hopefully on the somewhat same path and want the same things out of life and same goals, and hopefully a family. So yeah.
That's good.
Number 4. Does a person past matters?
I'll speak again. This is number 2 speaking. It does matter, but it matters in a sense of where you've come from, not as a sense of, oh, because I know you've done this in your past and I'm gonna judge you upon that. Because I think that's unfair, because you never know the circumstances of what got them to make those choices and those decisions. So I can't judge you on that. And I'm not saying I feel like, but I would hope that you wouldn't judge me on my past actions. You know, it shapes you and molds you to the person that you are in the current. So it matters, but it matters in, hey, this is where I've come from and this is where I'm trying to go, and I'm growing from those past mistakes or those past decisions.
This is person 1. I definitely agree. I believe in grace. I believe in extending grace. My
Yes.
past isn't perfect, but I do, for me personally, I do like to inspect people's past and see where they are now. see how they've dealt with things in the past and how they currently deal with things in the present. So when I'm dating, when I'm getting to know someone, the past is something that I bring up. It's not a hindrance to my perspective of them now, but it is just for me, it gives me introspection to who they are as a person overall, how they grew up, what they learned as a child. I think it matters, and that in seeing who they are as an individual. So the past matters, but I don't think it's a, if someone made a mistake, it's like a deal breaker in, inspecting their mistakes.
That's good.
This is number 3. I agree with what they both said. The past matters, but I think it's more important to focus on who they are in the present and in that moment and who they are with you. And as long as they've learned and grown from the past, then you shouldn't focus on it too much.
So with the past, what things, because all y'all are focused on growing. Sometimes it takes a while for the person to get over the past, like past relationships or past things that just happened in their family or things they grew up on. What past issues do y'all have that y'all feel like in a relationship that y'all will have to work on?
This is person 1. I would say some things in my past, my view on marriage. I've seen my grandparents, they've been together for about 57 years, but I also grew up in a broken home with my mother and father. It was constant dysfunction, so I have found myself comparing someone or putting someone else on a measuring stick of what I don't want to see that I saw in my father. And so for me, it's just not allowing my view based on my experience in my household hinder the progression of my marriage and putting an expectation on a man based on what I've experienced. So that's one thing I've been working on as I grow and develop, and just working on my idea of love, my idea of marriage, and my view of marriage, and making sure it's through a healthy lens and not through the lens of my experiences as a child or just my own perspectives of what I feel like, my partner should be.
That's good.
Dang.
That's good.
Right.
Right. It's not fair. It's not fair. Number 2 speaking, I can actually relate to number 1. My grandparents had been together for 47 years, married for 47 years, really knew each other for about 50. So I was used to seeing that, but again, I grew up in a home where my mom was divorced from my dad when I was an infant, in that infant stage. But the relationship with me and my dad had turned into a little bit abusive, I would say emotional abuse, and I have endured molestation. So that kind of took that vulnerable side of me away, and for many years I was not open to the fact of marriage at all. Like I was like, no, because if this person who is my father could do that to me, then I'm not just gonna go for it. That's the end all be all. But I think with healing from that, taking that vulnerable side and making it open to a person that I love has become a little bit easier for me than it was in the beginning, because it was a challenge, and I know being vulnerable is an important part of a relationship, and it allows somebody to see you for exactly who you are, outside of you going to work, outside of you. I mean, you can be a boss and come home and just be weak as I don't know what, just depressed, have anxiety, but that vulnerable place is somebody that they can tap into and really know what's going on with you and those inner things. So that's something that I have been working on, so that I'm not open to my husband in that way. Like, he has every part of me, but he doesn't have that inner thing that is attached to my heart and allows my heart to be open to him. So I think that's one thing that has been a challenge, but it's now becoming a triumph, because I'm learning how to work through those things and to be vulnerable again, just vulnerable with myself, and really look at myself and be like, yeah, there's some things that you have to tackle and deal with in order to be the woman that you want to become.
Until you kill it.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
I was asking what past issues or past things that happen in your life that you have to work on in a relationship.
For me, I think definitely vulnerability. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable and not having to be like the strong one or just being strong all the time. And open communication, because I was also the issue in my last relationship, just feeling comfortable enough to communicate what's going on in my brain and how I'm feeling and why.
All right, question number 5. How do you feel about approaching guys?
It's number 2 speaking. I think we're laughing because it's a big thing. Like, guys are like, I feel like you should shoot your shot, and we'd be like, not too sure about that. But I've heard from, inquiring from my friends that I feel like the females will have a better advantage. But for me, I just think I like being pursued. I like being like, this dude is like, yo, I gotta get her. Like, I'm just gonna take those steps and really show her that it's her that I'm after. So I like the pursuit. I don't have a problem shooting my shot. I just think it's just not my forte. I don't prefer it. But I mean, the ladies beside me could think something completely different. So
Yes, I would have to agree. This is person 1. I'm not about to be running after nobody, checking for nobody.
Come on now.
I believe in the biblical principles of being pursued as a woman.
Speak
So
on
I would let someone know. Maybe give hints that I'm interested, but in terms of like, going after them, chasing them, shooting my shot, that's not me.
This is number 3. I know it's kind of a double standard, but I agree, like, I'm not gonna be shooting my shot, and I want to be pursued. And yes, that's kind of not wrong, but like I said, a double standard. But I feel like if I had to shoot my shot as the woman, then the man or guy isn't that interested. But that's just my perspective.
Okay. This is gonna lead into my next question. But you have guys out here that don't pursue at all, that actually just sit back and just go with the flow and just let things happen. And then when it comes to a relationship, to try to get in one or pursue it, they're not used to chasing a woman. So it just shows that, oh, he's not interested. Well, he's not used to chasing a woman. So if he's not used to it, then how would you expect him to show that he's interested? And this leads to my next question. How do you feel about sliding in DMs?
Okay, so this is number 3. The first part, if he isn't really used to chasing women and I'm not used to chasing guys, I think that would just have to come down to communication. Like, you show interest, I show interest, we go from there. As for sliding in the DMs, again, I personally don't. So I just feel like that's not me, or just too forward for my liking. But if it happens to me, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I wouldn't personally slide into someone's DMs.
This is person 1. I agree. I'm not sliding into nobody's DMs. I've had my DMs slid into, but I mean, I'll let the person know if I'm interested subtly sometimes. Sometimes it's just like a straight up, I'm not messaging you back and forth if I see you're not someone I find interest in. So if he's not used to chasing, I agree with person 3. It's definitely about communication. I think that would just be something that he would have to work on personally. I think anything, if you want it, you have to like put the work in and put commitment into. So I think it would just be a conversation and communication, like person 3 said.
You said communication. Now we're in 2020. It's a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
If that person slides in your DMs, that's communication, right? So I feel like guys are put at a disadvantage now.
okay.
And with sliding in DMs, because usually when guys pursue, it was like all he wanted is one thing, but y'all wanted us to pursue you. And then if we slide in the DMs, 9 times out of 10, you probably got somebody that came for one thing. So now I've been in positions where it seemed like all I wanted was one thing, but really I was really trying to get to know you, but you're like, oh, he just like the last dude that slid in my DMs a week ago. Social media kind of puts everybody, or not everybody, the dudes at disadvantage, because if the girl don't show them interest because 2-3 dudes before you had messed up what you trying to pursue now, how do you expect us to keep trying to pursue? And then it's like, well, this don't matter because social media just doesn't work.
This is person one. I think it's all about the approach. I've had some people be like very direct, straightforward, and to me personally, that doesn't come off as. I don't like the aggressive nature.
Yes.
I've had some people that are like, you know, reply to a story here and there, and then they'll build off the conversation. I'm more open and receptive to that. I've also had people try the Quavo and send me a snowflake, and I'm like,
And expect you to send a soup.
and I'm just like, sir, goodbye. And so I think it's all in the approach. I think that is definitely a thing. Even with people, I'm always skeptical. Like, what do you want? And I will ask people sometimes and be direct. Like, what are you here for? And I'm just a direct person as well. But I think I agree with you that it is a disadvantage because a lot of women do see game and no game.
I'll ditto person one. I'll definitely say it's about the approach. I don't appeal to the aggressive, you know, you just being straightforward. I'm a straightforward person, but I think it's the way that you go about it. I do agree that guys are at a disadvantage because it's a little bit of a stigmatism, like, oh, I slid into her DMs. Like, the phrase itself sounds like you just came in there for one thing and one thing only. Mm-hmm. And you could be like a cool dude, like, I just want to get to know her, like, she's pretty, she's beautiful. But I think it's something that both sides have to work on, our perceptions of where the other side is coming from.
Number 3, I definitely agree with the first 2 answers. I think for me personally, DMs just seem not very personal. Like, I would rather know you personally, and I feel like DMs is more of like a stranger trying to get to know me. But again, like with the pandemic, that is kind of the only way to connect or interact with people nowadays. So I think it just comes back down to the approach and just being honest on like your intentions.
Still on the social media, does social media play a role in your relationship? So like, are y'all big on who pictures he like? On like who he's following, what he's posting, etc.
Person to speaking, I would say when I was younger, it was a problem because I felt like, oh, he's liking this person, da-da-da-da. I think that's a confidence level that I have within myself. If I'm with you, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. So we're making this choice together, and you know what you have and I know what I have. I don't have a problem with you following anybody, liking any picture, but if I see that it's leaning towards something else, like it's excessive, like the commenting is excessive, or you're sliding into her DMs excessively, then I'm gonna see a problem with it, because it's just like, okay, this is more than a scroll and a double tap. This is you actually seeing something and try to pursue something. So we're gonna check that right there. But as for like you follow, go ahead and follow Tig. I'll follow her. That's not a problem for me. That's not a problem for me. But if I see something, if I peep something, I'm gonna call you out on it. That's just the type of person I am.
This is person one. I definitely agree. I don't have time. I want to have enough trust and security in my relationship to know that I don't need to be checking for what you're doing, checking who DMs you sliding into. I feel like we should have enough mutual respect to, have those intentional boundaries, to not, overstep boundaries. I feel like, we all have seen a picture of the opposite sex and, double tap. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I feel like just intentional boundaries and communication. I, like person two said, I feel like I have enough security in myself to, if he's looking at someone, it's not with any means to pursue them. But if it is, like she said, you'll get checked and we'll move forward from there.
Person 3, I think it just comes down to if it's becoming like secretive and like sliding in the DMs and like commenting, like flirty comments and things like that. But yeah, a double tap on a picture shouldn't be an issue.
So are y'all the type to check someone's DMs?
This is person one, though. I don't have the time or the energy. If I see it again, I'm gonna nip you in the bud and we're gonna go from there. But I just feel like that's just too much. I want to have trust enough in my partner to know I shouldn't have to worry about that.
I agree with person one. I'm not gonna be, because then it's me, we're together, and it's me trying to go to your phone before it logs, and I'm like, let me quickly scroll. Like, that's a whole job. Mm-hmm. That's not what I'm about. Right. We have trust, and I trust you enough, you trust me enough, and from what you've shown me, your actions tell me, you know, how you're going to move. But if I see something, again, like number one said, nip it in the bud, but keep it going. But that's how I feel about it.
Number 3, I think I would bring up a conversation first before I just went straight to let me see your DMs or let me see your phone. And I would just kind of communicate that I don't feel as much trust in you as I should. And if the conversation just goes south, then I guess nip the relationship in the bud. But yeah, I'm not about to go through your DMs for what.
Question number 6. In your eyes, what do you consider providing when it comes to a man or husband?
This is number 3. To me, providing would be emotional and mental support, and I guess physical support. Just chuck it out there. But more importantly, like emotional and mental support. Like if I have someone to lean on or someone to confide in, support me in all things, and I to you, that's providing to me.
This is person 1. I think, again, like she said, there's different components of providing, definitely financially. I think it looks different for every relationship. That's one thing I feel like a lot of people try to box in what provision looks like for every relationship. For some people, you know, both females, or both the man and woman are working. So for me, it's just the two working together and having a clear vision on where we both stand. I think there's some seasons where the man needs some emotional support, when I feel like there's other seasons that the woman may need more emotional support. So for me, it's just a healthy man that has a clear understanding of his role in the relationship to lead the family, and having a clear vision for where we're going.
Person 2 here, I think providing goes beyond a financial aspect. It's like they both said, a mental and emotional thing, because sometimes the man may not be as open enough to say, hey, I need support in this area, or this is how I'm feeling, to be able to maybe show those moments of weakness and have that support be there for him, and not as a, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, but understanding where they're coming from and seeing that they need that additional support, that additional grace that we as females can extend, and that additional compassion. So I think providing goes on both ends. It's a give and take relationship that you have with your significant other.
Do y'all believe in the standard of the man supposed to hold up the household and the woman can take care of everything else?
Can you elaborate?
Like the man's supposed to pay the bills and buy the food. The woman's supposed to cook it, clean, and all that. Do y'all believe in like that stuff? Take care of the kids and all that.
This is number 3. I think that should be an equal responsibility for both parts. There shouldn't be, at least in my opinion, there shouldn't be one person just taking care of the bills or cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids. Like, it should be both parties. And if need be, like if, say I'm busy at work and I need you to pick up the kids, like there shouldn't be an issue. Whereas like that's specifically my role and you can't step in, or I can't step in when something needs to be picked up.
This is person 1. I think it all goes back to like the foundation of their relationship and their mutual agreement upon what their relationship looks like. I don't feel like the man should have to do everything. I was brought up to, like my parents, my grandmother would tell me, you know, your man better pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? You better have someone that, I mean, of course I want someone that's financially secure and stable, but I personally don't expect a man to do everything. I believe in just working together, figuring out what season we're in. There's some season like, hey, if my man makes $1 million and I can stay home, so be it. But I don't have the expectation that my man has to do, you know, everything.
Person 2, I definitely agree with person 1. Like, I think you have to identify what season that you're in and also have those conversations about where you are at, and recognize it's the two of y'all coming together as one and making something work. So, you know, I have no problem with you bringing home the bread, but I can bring home the bread too. Just like I can cook, you can get in there. I mean, and maybe oodles and noodles. I don't know. We gonna yeah, but you know, hey, if you're cooking, if we're taking care of the kids, again, it's a partnership between us. It's us coming together as a team to make sure that our household is straight. You know, no matter what, no matter where we are at. Whether that be financially or any other aspect. But I definitely think it's something that is discussed between the two people and is based on the foundation that they have.
All right, question number 7. Is the husband family parent relationship big to y'all?
This is person 1, yes. And I say that I look at how a person treats their mother. I look at how they communicate, because I think that shows a lot about their idea of relationships. Again, going back to the question of how you view their childhood, how were they brought up, how's their communication styles. I think that means a lot, and understanding where that person is in terms of their communication styles, in terms of how relationships were modeled in their life. And it often, what I've seen is mother-parent, son-daughter relationships, they often show signs of how they'll communicate in their relationships with their significant others. So I think, to me, that's something I look at. And I also ask questions. I know some people have strange relationships because of abuse or things like that. So I definitely look at those things.
Person 2 here, I definitely agree that relationship is important, because how they are in relationship with their parents and their family, you know, they were with their parents and their family first, so they didn't see them when they were younger and high school and all those different types of things. So they've seen them grow, and that's something that I pay attention to, especially when you're around them with the family. You can see how they interact, and that will kind of give you an inkling of how they could interact with you, or say you all are looking towards the future in a family, how they would interact with, you know, your personal family. So I think that's very important, to see them interact with them, to show you their characteristics.
This is person 3. I agree. Like, I think seeing your partner with their family is important, just to see maybe there's a side of themselves that they don't show you and maybe only show their family, so you get to see that, or vice versa. And I think just seeing if you vibe with the family is also really important, and if your partner vibes with your family. So yeah, that's important to me, at least.
So does your husband have to be, does he have to be cool with your side of the family? Let's say he don't get along with your side of the family. Is that big on y'all? Is that a deal breaker?
This is person 1. I feel like it depends on the situation. I think even if you don't care for my family, you're going to respect them. You know, if you don't like my mom, or if you don't like my grandparents, like that's cool, but you're going to respect them. So I think just having a healthy bridge, and then even if if there's something that rubs you the wrong way, we're going to still work towards you having a healthy communication style and building to a healthy relationship with my parents.
At the person 1, I think ultimately, out of the respect that you have for your significant other, that respect translates over to their family. Granted that you may not like the way they come off, you know, the way they may speak to you, but then it's just like you still have to respect them, because they're important to your significant other, so they should be important to you. But that all goes back to communication. If you see something that you may not like, or you took the wrong way, because it could be a perception that, you know, one side of the family could absolutely love you, like their mom could absolutely, oh my gosh, she's the best, but you may take her, you know, her sentiments as, oh, she don't like me, you know, the way I came to her house, the way she looked at me. You have to get past that, and that's communication. Like, you can sit down and have a conversation about that. That way there's no animosity, or there's no, you know, it's a vibe when you come in the house, like something's going to go wrong. It doesn't have to be that. But I think, it all goes back to communication and respect.
This is number 3. I agree. As long as there's respect and at least a decent amount of communication, like, you don't have to love them, but you will respect them.
Question number 8. What is love to you?
I guess I'll go first. Person two here. I think love is more than a feeling for me. It's more than an emotion that it evokes for me. I think it's actions. It's the way you treat each other, the way you're able to push past different obstacles, and that love becomes unconditional as you grow with the person. You allow them to grow and go through those growing pains with them and learn to love those flaws and those kinks and those bumps in the roads, because that makes them who they are. It's not necessarily going to be a lovey-dovey, we're just on this road and it's great and it's wonderful and the sun is always shining. Sometimes it rains and sometimes it's just like, I don't even know what's going on, but it's out of the love. And I think I'm a person who believes, and I think my faith also ties into that. You know, the way that Christ loves us should be the way that we love others, especially when you're in a relationship, because it's going to be some things that you don't agree with, and it's going to be some things that are just, they may irritate you, they may annoy you, but you have to tap into that love that that will translate as, okay, you know, it's something that we got to work through, but I'm gonna be here for you. So I think that's what love is to me.
This is person one. I definitely second person two. Love is not marginalized to our feelings. It's a commitment. I think so often in our society we go and we dictate love based on how we feel, based on our emotions. But I think, like person two said, love is a commitment. Again, I go back to the biblical principles with the love is patient, love is kind. If you want to define what love looks like, that's always where I refer to. And I think love really starts with the foundation of yourself. How you love yourself, how you view yourself will always be a reflection. How you treat, how you model others. So I think having a healthy foundation and loving yourself will always set the tone for your other relationships. But again, I just feel like love is commitment is more than just a feeling.
This is number 3. I definitely agree with love as a commitment. And as long as you have that commitment and respect, I mean, there's more to just commitment and respect, but as a foundation, that should be love.
Okay. What is your love language?
This is person one. I would definitely say quality time. I took the 5 love languages and I kind of expect myself, and I think quality time is definitely something I value when it comes to how I like receiving love.
This is person two. I would say quality time, and I'm a hugger, so this pandemic is really like it's really bothering me. But I would say physical touch. I definitely love being in the presence of people whom I love. So I think that's something for me, but I love quality time.
This is number 3. I agree, quality time and physical touch. For me, I just love a really good, deep conversation. So anyone who just wants to talk and talk for hours, I'm down.
All right, that was good. So, Quoran, I actually have a question for you. Out of these 3 girls and all their answers, which one do you think you could see yourself with?
Probably one.
One?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, y'all can step up and meet each other if you want now. This is Quoran. So that's Mariah, Sydney, Deja.